Hello there. Now, some people are going to think that the topic I'm going to talk about in a moment is pretty controversial, and there's certainly a lot of controversy going on about it. But I'm going to argue that a lot of that controversy is just fluff. It's not related to the problem or the challenge or the issue that we should be focusing on, and that this happens in a lot of different contexts, and it's related to a kind of dysfunctional way of thinking. So let's do a bit of foundation. If you go to a coach who uses cognitive approaches like myself, or a therapist or a counselor for that matter, they're not just interested in what you think, they're interested in how you think. And an example of that would be a kind of a habitual thinking pattern, like catastrophizing. So you can't find your left sock, and instead of saying I can't find my left sock, you say you can never find anything in this house. So one thing, and you're talking about it as if it's everything forever. Okay. But another one, and the one I want to focus on, is black and white thinking. And it's pretty much like it implies. It's people who think this is the truth and that's it, and I'm sticking with it, and nothing's going to change that. And so, for example, if you say, I think all women drivers are terrible, and I put you in a racing car and you race against a female driver and she just crushes you, wins by 10 laps. Some people will come up with the most bizarre, ludicrous and ridiculous ideas and suggestions and everything and excuses just to maintain their belief. So it causes behavior that is really quite dysfunctional. So people are kind of denying the undeniable, if you like. Now, another thing is that it can infect groups. So I work with an organization where the engineering team thought that all the challenges and problems and everything else in the whole universe were caused by the design team, and that feeling was reciprocated. Now, the problem was, in addition to the kind of culture issue that caused, because some of their behavior was pretty inappropriate, it was also the fact that they were investing huge amounts of time and effort and energy and emotion into trying to prove each other wrong and trying to blame each other rather than getting on with what they should be doing. And that's where I kind of worked with the CEO, who stepped in and said, right, stop this, okay? These are the rules of engagement, if you like, and I'm going to measure to see how much you are focusing on what you should be focusing on. Now, in America at the moment, there's a lot of talk about the Epstein files, isn't there? And there's a real kind of polarization on this. You're either on this side or this side. And the rather bizarre thing about it is that there's this side who are saying they need to release all this information and be upfront about it. But when they were in power, they didn't release it. And this lot are saying, well, you didn't release it, so we're not going to release it. And you think, what on earth are you talking about? What we should be talking about is the victims and what happened, and whether the people concerned are going to be held accountable. And the bizarre thing about this is, if you went out on the street, I don't know, I'm just kind of surmising, if you went out on the street and stopped people, regardless of where they sit on this kind of dichotomy, and you said to them, hey, can you just let me know if I told you about two people who went out and hunted for young vulnerable women and even underage girls, and then manipulated them into a situation where they felt that they had to have sex with a bunch of wealthy, powerful people, do you think that's okay? And I think the vast majority of people from both sides of this thing would say, no, that's not okay. And if I said, okay, if it's not okay, is it okay for them to get away with it? And I think the vast majority of people would say, no, it's not okay for them to get away with it. And as a father of three amazing, great, wonderful young women, it drives me insane, because I think, why are we talking about all this? Why have we got all this controversy about this? What we should be doing is focusing on the right thing. And the right thing is, I don't care whether these people are famous. I don't care whether they're powerful. I just don't care. What they did was corrupt and wrong, and they need to be identified and held accountable. No controversy. That's the end of the conversation. Now, if you're able to do this as a leader, just spot when these things are going on. The black and white thinking is if infecting behaviors, infecting positions, and distracting people from what they should be doing. It's recognizing, stepping in and say, stop, let's get back and focus on what we should be doing and dealing with some of those behaviors. Anyway, really interested in your thoughts.